Hello students, let us continue the discussion on moving charges and magnetism. And in the last class, we came to the formula for the magnetic field on the axis of a current carrying conductor at a point on the axis of a current carrying conductor, right? The expression for magnetic field, the magnitude of the magnetic field is as follows: mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi ir squared divided by x squared plus r squared whole to the power of 3 by 2. So now here, as you can see, this expression is will give the magnetic field at this point P due to a single turn, okay, due to a current carrying coil of a single turn. It's only one turn of coil that we have, but it's not necessary that we have only one turn. Assume that you have one more turn with this, okay, or one more coil with same current flowing, okay, one more coil. So now, along with this first coil, even the second coil will also produce its own magnetic field, which is very same, which is close to the magnetic field produced by the first coil. Following? So first coil produced this much of magnetic field, the second coil will also produce the same magnetic field at point P. So the total magnetic field at point P due to two coils will be 2 times of this, right? Now assume that you have a coil of n turns, okay, a coil of n turns, so many turns. Each turn will produce this much of magnetic field, okay. So this expression is for a coil of one turn or of a simple circular loop, okay, a coil of one turn or a simple circular loop. And for n turns, okay, for n turns, it is going to be mu naught by 4 pi, okay, instead of 2 pi I r squared, 2 pi n I r squared, okay. That's it, very simple. If you have two turns, twice the magnetic field of one turn. If you have thrice n turns, and hence n times the magnetic field produced by single coil. Rest everything stays the same, x squared plus r squared to the power of 3 by 2, okay. So this expression is very important again for n turns or for a coil of n turn, okay. When I say a coil of n turn, this is not individual coils, okay. They are not somewhat like this. Instead, all of them are connected, okay. It's a single coil through which the same current I is flowing, and hence they together produce certain magnetic field at the point P, which is equal to mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi n times I r square by x square plus r square to the power of 3 by 2. Clear? For n turns, n times. That's it, okay. Remember this. And now, interpreting the expression for special cases, let me take the expression B is equal to mu naught by 4 pi. The general expression from now onwards would be 2 pi n I r squared by x squared plus r squared to the power of 3 by 2. Now you see, when I take the point, okay, when I take the point on the axis, okay, I can choose the point anywhere on the axis and get the magnetic field. I can take the point here, 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 here. What does that point, choosing the point, decide? If I choose the point here, this is the distance x. If I choose the point here, the distance x would be this. So different points chosen will give me different value of x. Remember the derivation. But if I choose the value of x equal to 0, which means if I choose the point exactly at the center of the circle, center of the coil, okay, I can say at the center of the coil, what we have is x is equal to 0. When x becomes equal to 0, this expression will become mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi n I r squared divided by x is 0, rest is r squared to the power of 3 by 2, 2 and 2 cancels, and hence r cube will be left, and hence r square will get cancelled with that, and this is the expression b is equal to mu naught by 4 pi 2 pi ni by r, where r is the radius of the circle. This is the expression for magnetic field at the center of the coil. Okay, as I move away from the coil, what happens to the magnetic field? This x value will keep on increasing. As the value of x keeps on increasing, the value of b keeps on decreasing, right? Because it is inversely proportional. So what we see here is the magnetic field is maximum at the center and keeps on reducing as it moves away from the coil, center of the coil. So if I draw the graph for the dependence of magnetic field on the distance x, okay, this is x. This direction is x, so positive x, negative x, this is the center, okay, center. If I move away from the center, the magnetic field reduces, even this side, okay. Look at the proportionality. The proportionality is somewhere like inversely proportional to the cube of the x value, and so the magnetic field is maximum at the center, which means when x is equal to 0, magnetic field is maximum. So this is what I can take as B max, maximum magnetic field at the center. And if I move on either side, okay, the magnitude of magnetic field decreases, okay. This is what is magnetic field, and that reduces as and when we move away from the center on either side, okay. It's not about the it's not about the direction part of magnetic field, it's only about the magnitude part of the magnetic field, okay. So if I move away from the center either to the right or to the left, the magnetic field obviously keeps on decreasing, right? And this is how the graph of horizontal distance and the magnetic field look like, being the maximum magnetic field at the center, okay. So this is about interpretation. And yeah, you can see on what factors does it depend on, okay. We have discussed it. Few points if I want to take, yes, it depends on the current, right. More the current, more the magnetic field is, right. And if I take this expression and interpret, okay, or on what factors does the magnetic field at the center of a coil depend on? If the question is like that, then it depends on N, I and R simply. More the number of turns, more the magnetic field at the center of the coil. More the current, more the magnetic field. Lesser the radius, more the magnetic field, because it is inversely proportional, okay. Clear? So this is the interpretation of the expression to get the maximum magnetic field. And when does the magnetic field become 0? Absolutely 0. The magnetic field becomes exactly becomes 0 when only when x becomes equal to infinity, okay. Because we are not changing any other factors. Current remains same, radius of this coil remains the same, number of turns remains the same. If I take the point at a distance situated infinitely at an infinite distance from the center of the coil, then x becomes equal to infinity. When x becomes equal to infinity, b becomes equal to 0, okay. So these are the interpretations and special cases of the expression for magnetic field on the axis of a current carrying conductor. So we got to know that there is a very much similarity between the approach of charges and fields and magnetism, right? When I take charges and fields, it is a point charge. Similarly here in magnetism, it is current, because charge is the source of electric field, and current is the source of magnetic field, right? So charge, current, electric field, magnetic field, okay, both are similar. And here it is Coulomb's law which will give us the idea about electric field, and here in magnetism it is Biot-Savart law which will give us the idea about the magnetic force or the magnetic field due to current, right? Now anyone can just start to think like, okay, there is very much similarity between electric charges and the magnetism concept. And in the same way, when we move ahead, we can observe that there is a concept in topic in electrostatics or charges, which is Gauss law, right? Which will give us the idea about total flux in a surface, right? What is flux? Flux is current into electric field into surface area, right? Just a minute, right? So Gauss law gave us the idea about total flux in a closed surface, right? Through a closed surface. Similarly, when you take a point charge, the kind of symmetry the electric field had is the spherical symmetry, right? But when we have a current carrying conductor, the kind of symmetry that we get is not spherical. Instead, it is cylindrical symmetry when it comes to magnetic field, right? So instead of taking the surface integral, here we will take line integral, okay? So the basic idea is this. What I want to convey you is that there is a similar law in magnetism when we compare with the law with a law which is a Gauss law from charges or electrostatics, and that law in magnetism is again a very important one, and is called Ampere's law. It is also called Ampere's circuital law. Ampere's law is also fine. This law will give us the idea about getting the magnetic field around a current carrying conductor in a simple way, okay? Because when we want the value of magnetic field, we already have an expression, have a definition, have a statement of Biot-Savart law, right? But over Biot-Savart law, this will also help us in getting the magnetic field, but in a simpler way, okay? So first we need to understand what is Ampere's circuital law. Let me write the definition of Ampere's circuital law and then go to the explanation part of it, okay? Ampere's circuital law or Ampere's law of magnetism states that the line integral of magnetic field around a closed path is equal to mu naught times the current enclosed by the paths. So this is what is the statement of Ampere's law, okay, a simple statement, but we need to understand what does the statement say. So basically what we have here is a current carrying conductor again, okay. Let I be the current through the conductor, and obviously we can expect magnetic field around this conductor, right? Yes. Okay, let I be the current flowing through the given conductor. What we need to assume or imagine is a line or a path which surrounds this conductor, okay, a path which surrounds this conductor, goes around the conductor. Then this part, the line integral of magnetic field, what does that line integral of magnetic field say? Say, if I take a point here, then I can get a small line integral just on the point, a small line integral, a small length element, okay, a small length element, which I can call as dl. Okay, you all know that we called length elements as L and all. Here, since I have chosen a small length element, I can call that as dl. And here I can define one more length element, and I can call this as dl1, and I can call this as dl2. And similarly, I can have various dls. Here one more dl1, dl2, dl3, dl4, dl5, dl6, dl, and so on. And hence all the lengths put together will give me the total length of the path. Okay, it's the path. Somewhat like you have a current carrying conductor and you take a thread and put it around it in a random shape. That's how it is. Okay, following? So now at this point where the dl1 is there, okay, a small length element dl1 is considered, let the magnetic field at this point, okay, magnetic field at this point be b1. And similarly at this point, let the magnetic field be b2, because these 2 points are at different distances from the current carrying conductor, and obviously magnetic field will be different, right? So I take this point, certain length element, different magnetic field. I take this point, certain other length element and certain other magnetic field. Even here, different length elements, different magnetic fields. Okay. So what I get is D1, DL1 magnetic field B1, DL2 magnetic field B2, and somewhat like that. Okay, we can take infinite number of DLs and infinite number of Bs at those lengths. And here similarly I can take DL3 magnetic field B3, okay, infinite one. And now if you are clear with the considerations, I can tell you about the line integral of magnetic field. So the line integral of magnetic field, in the first place, the line integral of magnetic field is defined as, okay, a closed integral of, okay, it should be closed, where it should come back to the same point where it starts, okay, closed line integral of B dot dl, okay, both of them are vectors, B dot dl. What does this B dot dl actually is? See, when I say I can take infinite number of dl1, dl2, dl3, dl4s and dls, and at those points b1, b2, b3 be the magnetic fields, then this integral of closed integral of b dl in a mathematical form can be written as b1 dl1 plus b2 dl2 plus b3 dl3 plus so on. Okay, and one more important thing is this path what we have taken is an imaginary path, very similar to imaginary surface that we consider for the Gauss law. Here we have an imaginary path considered for Ampere's law. So this part dl is length element, line integral, okay, line integral, okay, follow this carefully, line integral of magnetic field is expressed as follows, integral of B dot dl, and that mathematically signifies it is somewhat like B1 dl1, B2 dl2, B3 dl3 and so on. You put all of them together, you will get this much. Clear? So let me give you an example of a particular path chosen and make you understand this. Say I have a path of shape square, okay, I have a path where the shape is square. Now from this point it's quite difficult again choosing the square because it is not symmetric. See, the reason is, see, you can observe dl, I can take I should take the dls again, small dls. Why that small dl should be considered? Why can't I take the dl from here to here completely? Because a length chosen the small length element chosen dl should be in such a way that the magnetic field in that part of the length should be the same. But if I choose the entire part as 1 dl, then see, from the center or from the point of conductor, see, this point is at certain distance, but this is at certain distance more than this. So magnetic field at this point would be lesser than the magnetic field at this point. Following? And similarly here, less magnetic field, more magnetic field, less magnetic field again, because it is a distant point. So that makes different magnetic fields in the same element. That I shouldn't do. I should choose the length element in such a way that the B value, the magnetic field value, should be the same in the chosen small length element. Okay, that is why I took dl so small and then integrated all of them to get the line, okay, line integral of magnetic field. Clear? Integral of B dot dl. I hope you are clear with first part of the statement. So it is integral of, okay, B dot dl. It's the dot product of magnetic field and length element is equal to, look at this, what else is left? Similar to Gauss law, okay, is equal to, around the closed path is equal to mu naught times the current flowing through this. That's it. Mu naught times the current flowing through the conductor. And yeah, since I have taken the permeability as mu naught, I should mention that everything is happening in free space or vacuum. Okay, so the line integral of magnetic field around a closed path in vacuum, that would make the statement complete, because I have taken the value of permeability mu naught directly, which is the permeability of free space or vacuum. So this is the mathematical form of Ampere-Circuital law. Clear with this? Very easy. But this part you should understand carefully. This is easy, mu naught times current, easy. But this part, okay, what does this represent? Integral. Integral means you should add all of them which are there here. What is there here, and what is this symbol represents? The circle. This circle represents, it should be a closed integral, which means you should end at a point where the integration started, where, okay, which means if I start adding the elements from this point, I should come back to the same point. Okay, that is what is closed integral. Okay, and this B dot dl, B is the magnetic field, dl is the length element at a particular point or small length chosen. Okay, B dot dl. So that is what is line integral of magnetic field, or we can also say closed line integral of magnetic field. That's also fine. Okay, so this is the mathematical form of Ampere-Circuital law. Now, since these two are vectors, I can write line integral of B dl cos theta is equal to mu naught I, right, where theta is the angle between magnetic field and the length element. Okay, this is important expression, and this is also important definition or statement of Ampere-Circuital law. Clear? So this is about Ampere-Circuital law. Now we'll see one of the application using Ampere-Circuital law, because you can remember that when we discussed Gauss law of electrostatics, as and soon we understood the Gauss law, we went on to discuss about applications of Gauss law, isn't it? The first application is to get the electric field due to an infinitely charged wire, right? Infinitely charged straight wire, then sheet, then sphere, isn't it? In the same way, now since we have understood Ampere's law, we'll see whether can we apply this Ampere's law for in any of the concepts and get the formula out of it. Okay, so now we'll see one of the application of Ampere-Circuital law. Okay, the application of Gauss law that we are going to consider is the one of the application is to get or to derive the expression for magnetic field due to, similarly, okay, which is the first application of Gauss law that we considered, infinite wire, infinite charged wire. Similarly, here it is a current carrying conductor of infinite length. Okay, there it is a charged wire of infinite length. Here it is a current carrying conductor of an infinite length. Okay, to derive the expression for magnetic field due to a current carrying conductor, due to a current carrying conductor of what length? Infinite length. Right. Let me go for the considerations first. Now we need a conductor which is of infinite length. Okay, so I have to choose certain part of the conductor. Rest is going to infinity on both the sides. Okay, let me name it as x and y. Let xy be the conductor chosen of infinite length. Okay, and let me consider a point and a path around that point. Before the consideration of point, I would like to mention one more factor. Let I be the current flowing through the conductor. Okay, let x, y be the conductor chosen of infinite length through which current I is flowing. Clear? Let O be a point chosen, and now what I need to take is the path around that point. Okay, a path, a closed path around that point. What kind of path shall I choose now? Okay, I have various options. I can choose a square shaped one, rectangle shaped one. Okay, it's a path. Okay, an ellipse, triangle, so many options are there. Which path should I stick to in order to get the expression in a simpler way? In order to get the expression in a simpler way, I am going to stick with a shape of circular path. Okay, why is this? Why am I going for a circular path? There is a reason behind that. Okay, because the reason I am choosing a circular path with O as the center, is, see, it's the constant current flowing, and from the center to every point on the path. Okay, from the center to every point on the path, the distance remains the same, isn't it? Because it is a circle. If you observe this carefully, if you observe it in this way, or I can say the other view of this will look somewhat like this, right? This is the circle, this is the wire coming out. So from the center, it is always the same distance, which means the magnetic field at every point on the path, since the distance is same, current is same, and the angle made by the magnetic field with the length element is also same. Okay, it's tangential, right? Like this. So all these factors are same because see, what factors decides the magnetic field? We all know that current, Biot-Savart law, you remember once, current and the distance from the wire to the point, sine of the angle between this distance r. Okay, this is what is r, right? Distance, angle between r and the point chosen, or I can say, since, okay, this is the point chosen, right? So r and the point, the length element of the conductor chosen, right? So the same expression of Biot-Savart law, what does it say? The magnetic field expression. Yeah, ideal sine theta by r squared, right? So dl is back then it is the length of the conductor chosen. Okay, that's fine. We will get confused. But conceptually, okay, you can visualize it physically itself. That if I choose a circle around as the closed path around the conductor, the magnetic field at every point on the circle will be same.
If I move bit closer, then the magnetic field increases. If I move bit away, then the magnetic field decreases. But if I keep on the same path, then the magnetic field is same at every point chosen. Okay. So that is why I will be taking a circular path of radius r. Okay. So fine, I is the current flowing through that, O is the center chosen, R is the radius of the circular path chosen for applying Ampere circuital law. Okay. So fine, let's apply it. So Ampere circuital law says integral of B dot dl is equal to mu naught I. What is B dot dl? It is B dl cos theta, which is equal to mu naught I. Now, the thing is, what is the angle between B and dl? So, if I choose a small length element here on the circle, the length element is directed tangentially on the circle, right? It's always tangential to the circle like this. And what is the direction of magnetic field at that point? The direction of magnetic field is given by right hand thumb rule. This is the direction of current, this is the direction of magnetic field. So, the magnetic field direction will also be the same at this point, same as that of the length element chosen. Following? So, in this view, if I choose the length element here as dl, okay, this is the current out of the board, and hence magnetic field direction would be a circle like this. A circle like this. So, at this point, if I take the direction of magnetic field, it would be same as of the direction of dl. Following? So, angle between B and dl, which is theta, will become equal to 0 degree. And hence, this reduces to integral of B dl. Okay, it is not B dot dl this time, it is simply B dl, which is equal to mu naught I. And now, when I take B dl, whether the value of B is varying with respect to dl or constant, which means the value of B at this point, when I choose this much of length dl, what is that B? If I choose this point for some other dl, then the value of B will remain the same, isn't it? Because that is why I chose this circular path. B remains same at every point on the path. So, when I take the line integral around the path, the value of B does not change, it remains the same. So, B becomes constant and hence I will take that out. Since it is a constant, I can take it out. What I will be left with is integral of dl. B into integral of dl is equal to mu naught I. We are very close. Very simple derivation. But the considerations has to be clear. It is all about the imagination. Okay. So, what is this integral of dl? Look at this. Integral of dl is the total length that we get after adding all the small dl's. So, here I choose one dl, other dl, dl1, dl2, dl3, dl4 and so on many infinite dl's, okay, that will make this entire circle. Now, what is the sum of all those dl's? Sum of all those dl's is the circumference of the circle chosen, isn't it? You take dl1, dl2, dl3, dl4, dl5, dl6, dl7, so on, add them all. What is the total length? Total length is circumference of the circle. So, this integral of dl is nothing but circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r. Okay. So, that becomes b into 2 pi r, which is equal to mu naught I. What are we interested in? Our intention is to get the magnetic field value at this point. Okay. So, the magnetic field value at any point from the distance of r, from the center of the wire, current carrying conductor will be B is equal to mu naught I by 2 pi r. That is it. Very simple expression. We can end the expression here, that is not a problem, or we can go to a next step. Since we have mu naught, we always prefer keeping mu naught by 4 pi as one value, as one constant. How do I do that? I need to multiply and divide this by 2, right? When I do so, this becomes mu naught by 4 pi. What is left on the other side is very simple, 2 I by r, where I is the current through the wire. R is the distance from the center of the wire to the point where we need the magnetic field, okay, or in particular the perpendicular distance from the center of the wire to the point where I need the magnetic field. Clear with this? So this is the final expression for magnetic field due to an due to a conductor, current carrying conductor of infinite length at a distance r from the conductor. Okay, so this is the expression which is very important, and this derivation is also important. It's not only about the derivation. You should be able to apply this concept of Ampere's law even for different shapes, even for different value of magnetic fields, where they themselves will give you the magnetic fields and all. Okay, but this is standard derivation here. Okay, but you should be able to apply it into different shapes, which is not there in the syllabus. Okay, right. Thank you.